have a sizable number of participants now. Are we good to go?
Yeah, I think.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well this morning. Firstly, I would like to welcome you all and thank you for attending this important session on UAE inheritance law and drafting a personal will. Why important? Because quite recently I've had multiple conversations with a few of you on this topic, and we figured that there's a need to arrange an information session as it affects us all working and living in UAE. Who we have on the call today is I'm glad to welcome Just Will representatives with us. They're kind enough to support us with our request on a very short notice. A little bit of background of Just Will. They are one of the leading experts in inheritance law and will writing, and actually the first will drafting company in the GCC. So they have the wealth of knowledge. They have been present in the region for a long time. They have guided many individuals and families like us through the complexities of UAE laws around inheritance, personal will, provided their expert advice, and extended their services as well in terms of consulting and individual will writing services. What can we expect today? We'll dive into the key aspects of UAE inheritance law, understand the nuances of Sharia principles, especially if you're from outside the region, you don't understand, what Sharia principles are, how do they affect each one of us as an expat. We'll also cover what goes into drafting a personal will in compliance with legal requirements and so on. So I think that's pretty much it from my side. I'll hand over to Just Will representatives now, and feel free to ask questions. That's our opportunity to clarify any questions that we have. And of course, this is an information session only. If following this session, if any one of us needs a personal service and follow-up sessions, feel free to connect with Just Will directly, and I'm sure they'll be happy to help. Right. I'm handing over to you, Mohammed.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining this session. Will you be uploading the presentation?
Sure, I can share it. Just give me a second.
Please, if you can do that. If you can give me the right over it so I can change the slides.
Or I'm trying to share it, but the share button is frozen. Just give me a second, yeah. Yeah, for some reason I'm unable to share it. Can anybody volunteer if I send you the presentation? Will you be able to share it? Anyone?
Yeah, sure, mate. Send it over to me, so.
Yeah, I'll send. Just send it over, Jason. It was working just a minute ago. We checked it. Yeah, the IT.
You shared the screen earlier, Yasser. What happened?
Yeah, I'm clicking on the share button, but it's not working. It's not giving me whether I want to share the entire screen or the presentation. So the drop down is not coming. Jason has shared it. So thanks, Jason.
Great.
You're welcome.
Sorry, Jason, could you allow me the Let me have the control over this, please, so that I can.
Yep. Share that. Just get that working. Just says stop sharing. Do you want me just to run through the slides for you? You can just tell me to move on.
Okay. If you could make the screen bigger then, or if you put it in presentation mode.
Yeah, I'm just. It's actually a PDF, so I can't. That's the issue.
Oh, wow. 1 second. Let me just check something as well.
Just going to give you control.
That's why you can't give the control. Okay.
I'm just. I can. I'm just. Stand by 2 seconds.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. You've got control now.
Jason, you should be able to go to view, and then I think there's a selection for view full screen as well.
Okay.
Just while we're waiting, just for the Just Wills team, I know a bit about your organisation already. Some of the other team members that are online won't, and I know that you specialise in UK and GCC wills, but we have a lot of multinationals on the line from the likes of Canada, Australia, Brazil, other parts of the world. So while we're waiting for the presentation to be ready, can you just explain, how you can support multiple nationalities
Sure.
who are residing from various different jurisdictions?
Sure. Okay, look, let me explain. Number one, for obvious reasons, the primary focus is always within the UAE. So when I'm talking about wills, estate, inheritance, probate, we are referring to the assets in the UAE, so your bank accounts and so forth. Now, I know some laws of other countries, but not every country. So if I draft a will and you're a Canadian national living in the UAE, I can cover everything here in the UAE. We can make the will global to cover assets in Canada. What I'm weary about is really those countries that have inheritance tax, because at the end of the day, trying to know the tax laws of every jurisdiction it's very difficult. I mean, I don't know anyone who would know all the tax laws of every country in the world. It's impossible. So if you take, for example, the US, 50 states, each state having their own individual laws, and then there's a federal law. That's why if you want a will to cover assets in the US, I'll tell you it's better you speak to someone in the US who will be able to assist you accordingly. If you're from the UK, I can help you. Europe, say you're French, Italian, German, drafting a will to cover the assets in the UAE is not a problem. But when it comes to your home country, you may want to take independent legal advice or tax advice to cover your assets there for obvious reasons. So when it comes to this matter, our primary focus is within the UAE. Australia does not have inheritance tax, but if you look at New Zealand, they have inheritance tax. So for an Aussie living in the UAE, covering their estates, both in the UAE and in Australia, I can do it. But like I say, when it comes to countries where there's inheritance tax, I'd rather you make a separate will in that jurisdiction so that you can take advantage of any tax reliefs or trusts which you can set up during your lifetime. Hope that explains. Okay.
Yeah, so I guess for all of the team members that are on the line, I mean, as Saeed had said, this is a very important topic, especially when it comes to understanding Sharia law and what will happen to your assets if you don't have a will in country. But this is general guidance, and for your own personal circumstances, you know, you would need to seek individual personal advice to make sure that your individual assets are covered.
I mean, if you don't mind me saying, because people are living in the UAE, they're having bank accounts here, they're having the children here, they're buying property here, the focus has got to be here. But every country has a law, so for the sake of argument, I'd rather we just focus in the UAE. A person can have more than one will at the time of death, provided it's open close. So for example, if I draft a will in the UAE, I will keep this for the UAE only. So you're free to make a will in your home country. Okay, if we can just begin. The importance of succession planning in advance. Why am I saying in advance? Is when I'm dealing with a death case, there's always problems. For me, having a will is part of the jigsaw puzzle. But what people need to understand is what happens when a person passes away, what you can do in advance. And let's take an example, look at bank accounts. In this part of the world, even if you have a single or a joint account, the moment the bank is informed of death, they will freeze the full account. So joint accounts don't have right to survivorship. Now banks here, I'm sorry to say, they give so much wrong information that when I get involved, I have to sit down and educate the banks, the employer, HR, the employee. This is not the way it works. So take an example. You have a joint account with your wife. There's 100 dirham. The husband owns 50 dirham. The wife owns 50 dirham. Now who's going to go first? Nobody knows. That's why you have the concept of a single or a mirror will. A mirror is one for the husband, one for the wife, where the single is just for one person. But why am I saying in advance? Because if you come to me today and say I need a will in 24 hours, I can do it. But if I tell you to have the housekeeping tips in this order today, you won't be able to do it even within the month. That's why it's important that you have your housekeeping in a particular order. Just going to the next slide now. Could you change the slide, please? Sorry. Thank you. Okay, so sorry, the screen is much bigger than I have to read the, yeah. So who are Just Wills? Well, I joined Just Wills back in 1989 in the UK. We came into the UAE in 2005. We were the first company who set up here to offer independent will drafting, independent will drafting company. We're the first one to set up here. And as the name suggests, we're only into wills, probate, inheritance. So if you have any other legal issue, we won't be able to help you. Our primary focus is only on the wills, probate, and inheritance. If you can go on the next slide, please. Right. So what is a will? A will or testament is a legal binding document that coordinates the distribution of your estate after your death. Now please note, it's after your death. Many people think, I'm going to buy a property tomorrow. I might sell the property. Do I need to update the will? If you buy a company, you buy a car, open a bank account. The will is talking or including assets after you pass away. What you do in your lifetime, good luck to you. You buy a car, sell a property, you open a bank account, you move to a company, you're employed, you become self-employed. Whatever you do in your lifetime, the will only works after your death, which means we need a death certificate. No death certificate, no will. Now your estate, now people confuse the word estate. Estate is what you own, which includes property, but it's not limited to property. So your bank account, your gratuity, your car, your investments, everything you own is part of your estate. So when people say, oh, I don't need a will because I don't own the property, that is incorrect. Whatever you own is part of the will. A will allows to communicate your wishes clearly and precisely, including appointing guardians for your children. It can also lay out your funeral wishes alongside dealing with any administrator of the executorship provisions. Unlike a trust or a holding company, a will is only activated upon your passing away, and a will can be revoked, amended any time. For us, a will is one of the most important legally binding documents you will ever deal with in your lifetime, and our job is to try and make this process as easy as possible. If you can go to the next slide, please. Okay, what happens if you pass away with no will? Now, the 3 boxes I've highlighted, I have no control. So let's look at bank accounts. Now, whether there's a will or no will, the moment the bank is informed of death, they will freeze the account. Now, many people think having a joint account means the wife will be able to take the money out. Well, when the bank is informed of death, they will freeze the account. So the example I was giving to you, if you have 100 dirham in your joint account, for legal reasons, the husband owns 50 dirham, the wife owns 50 dirham. Who goes first? We don't know. That's why you have a concept of a mirror will. So if the husband goes first, they block the 100 dirham. The wife will keep a 50 dirham, but for the 50 dirham of the husband to pass over to the wife, you need a will. So when the accounts are blocked, they will wait for a court order, then they will unblock the accounts. So please bear in mind, even if you have a will and you go to the bank with a will, the bank will not release the money. They need the court order. So number 1, when a person passes away, all bank accounts are blocked. All I want you to understand is that we're not talking about single, we're also talking about joint accounts. Number 2, with the exception of golden visas, once the person passes away, in order to get the death certificate, the formality completed, you need to cancel the visa of the deceased. The moment you cancel the visa of the deceased, the dependent visas are cancelled, which means they have 30 days to leave the country. Now, part of the process of cancelling the visa, you need to get the death certificate also stamped by your embassy. What does that mean? That means whatever happens in your home country is local law. You'll be shocked and surprised to know that the UAE is not the only country in the world that freezes bank accounts. If you go to Canada, South Africa, Philippines, Tanzania, France, Italy, Germany, Spain, North Africa, the whole GCC, all these countries freeze bank accounts as well. So this Eidul Survivor bank account, it doesn't happen in every country in the world. All countries have the law. So if a Canadian national or even a South African national passes away in the UAE, when you are taking the death certificate and getting the certificate stamped by all the government departments, the embassy will also be informed. So what they will do is that they will inform the home country. So for a Canadian national, his bank accounts will be blocked in Canada, and it also is going to be blocked in the UAE. Now, if you look at these 3 problems, I can't guarantee in which order it will happen and how long will it take. One thing I will tell you, it will happen in due course. Whether you have a will or no will, I have no control over these 3 points. And funnily, many people don't know this, these 3 major issues has nothing to do with the Sharia law. So when bank accounts are blocked, this is nothing to do with Sharia law. Bank accounts are blocked just to make sure all your debts and liabilities are settled. Visas are cancelled because this is an immigration matter. When the sponsor has died, how can the dependents live here in the UAE? And whatever happens in your home country is international law. That's all. So whatever happens there in your home country, you have to pay taxes, they freeze your bank accounts. It's nothing to do with the UAE. So if an Emirati goes to London and passes away, the UAE embassy will be informed that the UAE nationals passed away. They will send a message back to the UAE. His bank accounts will be blocked. The point I'm trying to say is that the UK is not telling the banks to freeze accounts. It's because the embassy is informed, they send a message back to the home country, then whatever happens in your home country is done locally. So if you look at these three boxes, will, no will, I have no control. Now we go down the list of asset or the list of other complications. Local law will be applied to the distribution of your estate. Now, let me explain one thing. Every country has a law. If you don't make a will, the law of the land will apply. If you make a will, the court will accept the will. Now, I can sit down and talk about the laws, the Sharia law, who gets what. I can talk about it until the cows come home. But the point I'm trying to say, if you don't like it, then make a will. It's simple. Problem is people don't make a will, then they're arguing, then they are criticizing the system. I say, wait a minute, if you don't like the law, make a will. There's one of three courts to register the will, but don't expect the court to come to your office to tell you, hey guys, register your will. The system is there. If you want it, take advantage of it. But let's talk about the obvious. When the husband passes away and there is no will, what happens? So, if you have 100 shares, what the courts will do is club everything you own as 100 shares, whether it's your car, bank account, gratuity, property, investments, off-plan property, everything's clubbed as 100 shares. The husband passes away. The parents of the deceased take 16.66 each. You can write this down, by the way. If you get pen and paper, write this down. The parents of the deceased will take 16.66 per person. The wife will take 12.5%. The balance 2 shares to the son, 1 share to the daughter. That is it. The brothers, siblings, uncles, cousins, they're not involved. You have 100 shares, husband pass away, 1/6 each to the parents, 12.5% to the wife, balance 2 shares to the son, 1 share to the daughter. Now let's take an example. If the wife passes away, so the wife passes away, now we've got 100 shares, what the wife owns. So out of the 100, what the wife owns, her parents will take 1/6 each, husband takes 25%, and the balance 2 shares to the son, 1 share to the daughter. You see the numbers? Wife, if she's a co-account holder of the joint account, that 50 dirhams belong to her. Her 50 dirhams, look at it as 100 shares. What she owns, whether it's jewelry, bank account, property, she's working, gratuity, life assurance, whatever it is, club it together, 100 shares. Her parents will take 1/6 each. Husband take 25%, balance 2 shares to the son, 1 share to the daughter. Now, I'm not here to say that is the best system. No. I'm telling you that is the system, whether you like it or not. If you don't like it, make a will. It's simple. So when it comes to the local law being applied to the distribution of the estate, I'm talking about those shares. Now, usually the end of service benefits is blocked. When a person passes away, they block everything. The moment they are informed of death, everything is blocked. Even your off-plan properties is blocked. You can pay the developer, but you can't transfer until you get the court order. Family arguments will arise. This is very common. When there is no will, everyone's fighting. Everyone is trying to grab the money. Before you know it, everyone is coming out the woodwork to try and claim what they think is theirs. Ex-partners, so if you're if you're separated, not divorced, your ex-partner will even come to claim the money. Assets in your home country will be distributed according to the laws there. The children's control of the inheritance is given to the wrong person. So even when you got 2 shares going to the son, 1 share going to the daughter, the court decides who's looking after the money. You might say, let the mother look after the money, or if the wife passed away, let the father look after the money. Do you know, you'll be surprised. The court told me that they used to give the money to the mother to look after the children's terms of payments. And then the extended family was complaining to the court that the wife or the mother is spending the money on herself and not even paying the school fees. And vice versa. Extended family made complaints to the court that the father is spending the money elsewhere but not on the children. So the court is now saying, if we hold in, or if there's money going to children and there's no will, we will look after the money. Because when the children reaches 21, they can go back to the court to claim the money and ask the court for a statement of account, where was our money used. So when it comes to dealing with a death case and there's no will, the court decide who's managing the money for the children. It is a very expensive process and very time consuming, dealing with all the red tape in the country, and I cannot tell you the headaches and problems. And if you are living in a country where inheritance tax is applicable, before you know it, you'll end up paying taxes on your assets in the UAE. Next slide, please. By the way, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to stop me and put your hand up, or whatever it is, let me know.
Just one thing for those of us that are parents, guardianship is different, right? When
Correct.
It comes to wills.
That's the next slide. You're one step ahead of me, but thank you for bringing that up, because respectfully, people only thinking about their money. When it comes to guardianship, they put it in the back of the sort of queue. But I'm saying no, that should be in the front. So I'm just going through these problems. So if you have a registered will, now please know, a registered will is a will registered in the court, not a handwritten one, not something typed up and you got your work colleague to witness. Yes, Mark.
I had a question. You said something about age of 21. Is that
yes.
18? So if the will goes to a child who's under 21, who then administers?
That's why when you have a will registered, you can decide who's the guardian of the children and who's the trustee looking after the money. But remember, the age of maturity in this country is 21. If you ask me, it should be 25, but that's my opinion. But I'll be answering that question a bit later as well. So just to go through, if you have a registered will, that if the will is registered in the court, that will expedite the distribution of your estate. All your wishes will be honored locally. So in other words, doesn't matter on your religion, which part of the world you're from. Someone think, oh, if I'm a British Muslim or if I'm Lebanese Muslim, the Sharia might apply. I say no. Irrespective of your religion, you can register a will in the UAE. The will covers all your estate, gratuity and or service benefits. All of that is part of the will. All your investments will pass on to the right people of your choice, including off-plan properties. No family disputes. Everyone know what they will receive. You can insert an exclusion clause to block any ex-partners to be. It's a very cost-effective process dealing with the execution. If you have children from any previous relationships, they can be covered as well. You can leave a gift of money to a family member. Nominating a local executor, someone who lives here, to execute the will is very, very important. And you can also leave a provision for a charity. But for me, the most important reason why you should have a will, if you can change the slide, please, is to protect your children. So, why am I saying this? About 10 years ago, there was a case in Dubai Investments Park where the parents passed away in a car accident, and the children were at the school. Now, the school did not know what to do, who to contact. It's 3 o'clock, it's 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, no one's coming. to pick up the children. Now, obviously, we're talking about children here. We need to make sure we know the children's going to the right person. So the school had to call the police to come in to take the children and put them into temporary care. I know you might think that's very what's the word? I can't even think of the right word now. That the school were being difficult. That was very cruel of the school to do what they did, but the school had no choice. So when it comes to will drafting, yes, I agree the money, the assets are important, but if you have children, guardianship to me is more important. So what is the guardianship? Guardianship is split into two parts. You have the temporary and the permanent. Temporary are people living in the UAE who get to the scene immediately. They could be your neighbor, a work colleague, it could be someone at the school, a friend, a distant relative, somebody living in the UAE, someone who can get to the scene immediately. Now, when it comes to temporary guardians, more the merrier. Don't give me 1 or 2, give me 5. Permanent guardians are those people like your parents, siblings, who will come from the home country and take the children. So guardianship is two parts. Temporary, people living here. Permanent, family in your home country. If your family is living here, they can be the temporary and the permanent. But most of us, our families are in the home country. So temporary, living here, permanent, home country. Please note, a will is the only document that allows you to legally appoint guardians to protect your children's future. So if you have a letter of wishes or a handwritten document, that has zero value. And I know there are such documents in the market, and it's very upsetting because I keep telling everyone, if it's not registered in the court, it has zero value. Next slide, please. Okay, so why draft a will? Well, for your children, guardianship, upholds your wishes, and ensuring your estate, all your estate, are distributed as per your wishes. So this is why you drafted a will. Next slide, please. Now, in the beginning, I told you that a will only works when there is a death certificate. So take an example, God forbid, and everything's God forbid when you're talking about this subject. If you're brain dead, incapacitated, or in a coma, a will cannot work. Because for a will to work, you need a death certificate. No death certificate, no will. Does anyone remember the missing Malaysian airline, MH370? Yeah, we all know it. It's not a secret. Everyone knows. Do you know that when the plane disappeared, that the Malaysian government couldn't issue the death certificates immediately? According to international law, if a person is missing, presumed dead, there's a waiting time of up to 7 years before you can legally declare them dead. 7 years. That's why having the power of attorney, to me, is equally important than having a will. But remember, a will works when there is a death certificate. No death certificate, the person's alive. Even he's in the hospital breathing oxygen. Even the doctor says this person is 99% brain dead, 1% oxygen's going in his body, he's still alive. A will cannot work. That's why you need a power of attorney. Next slide, please. Housekeeping tips. This is what you need to follow. Now, if you look at points 1 and 2, can everyone please pay particular attention to the slide? Because I can assure you, I didn't read this from a book. It's 20 years experience that I've been dealing with death cases, and this is why I've come to this very important housekeeping tip list. You need to have your bank accounts in the fashion of A, B, C, D. So I'm combining points 1 and 2. By the way, I don't open bank accounts. We have nothing to do with the bank accounts. But why am I saying A, B, C, D? Simple. Joint account, bank A. Husband's account, single account, bank B. Wife, single account, bank C. Children's bank account, in bank D. Why am I saying A, B, C, D? If the husband pass away, the joint account is blocked, the single account's blocked, so A and B is blocked. C and D is not blocked. I say that again. Joint account bank A, husband single account bank B, wife single account bank C, children in bank D. So, if the husband pass away, the joint account is blocked, his single account is blocked, but the wife's single account, nobody can touch it, children's account it's working. Now, if the wife pass away, the joint account is blocked. The husband's single account is not blocked. The wife's single account is blocked. Children's account is not blocked. Mark, you have a question?
You're saying bank A, bank B. You mean bank account or bank, different banks?
Different banks, sorry, my apologies. Why am I saying different banks? Because if you put all the accounts in the same bank, they will block every account. So when I say bank A, B, C, D, I'm talking about different banks, but the accounts must be in the order I'm telling you. So the joint account for the husband and wife is in bank A. The husband's single account is in bank B, a different bank. Bank C, the wife has a single account in a different bank. Bank D, children's bank accounts. Now you're gonna find it so upsetting that banks won't give you this information, but when I talk to them, they say you're 100% correct. But why they're not giving you the information? Because they want all the accounts in the same bank so they have the control. So remember, when a person passes away, forget the will. Whether there's a will or no will, all the bank accounts are blocked. So if you take your employer now, if they're going to pay your life assurance into the bank account of the beneficiary, say is your spouse, if your spouse don't have a bank account, how can they transfer the money? Because all joint accounts are blocked. And in my experience, some employers will not pay the money in the home country. They need a local account. So points 1 and 2, bank accounts A, B, C, D. Number 3, life assurance. Guess what? I don't sell life assurance. But why am I saying this? Bank accounts are blocked for why? Why are they blocked? 2 reasons. 1, clear your debts and liabilities. 2, who are the legal heirs? Legal heirs is defined in the will. But debts and liabilities got to be paid. I'm talking about your phone bills, utility bills, talking about your credit cards, your car loans, personal loans, mortgages. Do you know to even repatriate a body, you need 15 to 20,000 dirham. When your bank account is blocked and your credit card that is linked to your bank account is also blocked, can you imagine to repatriate a body? Where are you going to find 15 to 20,000 dirham? Even removing your furniture, storage cost, if you are you're relocated, who's going to deal with that? Your bank accounts are blocked. I can't help you. The will is there. But for the will to go through the system, it will take time. In my experience, when you're dealing with a death case, the first thing you need to do is to deal with the funeral arrangements. All your bank accounts are blocked. That's why if you have the A, B, C, D, there is flexibility. You have life assurance that will pay out. That money can be used to pay for repatriation, storage, relocating. Even if you are going back to your home country, you have to go back to rented accommodation. This is why I tell everyone, never burn your bridges in your home country. You never know when you need to go. And do I sell life assurance? No, I don't. People say to me, you're doing a very good job talking about life assurance, but it's a shame you're not selling it. It's because we are just wills. We are not just insurance. Point number 4, when I'm drafting a will, do you know I'm going to say everything goes to, say, your spouse or your children? What is everything? Define everything. Do you know husband don't even tell the wife in which bank account the money's in? Wife doesn't even know the PIN number of the debit or credit card. The wife doesn't even know the laptop password to the laptop. You need to make an inventory. We have got a 45-page document which I can gladly share with you. But you need to write everything down. So if I say all bank accounts, define all. When you go to the court to open up an inheritance file, the court is going to rely on the executor. I believe Mark must have asked a question about execution or the age of maturity. When you go into the court, somebody has to give the court a file to say, here's the will, here's a list of assets, here's a marriage certificate, blah, blah, blah. You need to make an inventory, an asset and liability list. I mean, many people call them to give different words, but your job is to have a list of assets. I cannot stress the importance. If you don't tell your family where the money is, or if they don't have access to the credentials, no law's been applied. So if you don't have a will, okay, the Sharia law's applied, fine. At least a law is being applied. But if you don't know where the money is, you can kiss that money goodbye. Because no bank on this planet is going to come back and say, hey guys, the money's here, how would you like it? That's why banks are getting richer, people are getting poorer. In the UK alone, the statistics that were put onto the net is UK banks are sitting on currently £14 billion, and no one's there to claim the money. And guess what? After 5 years, it goes to the Crown. The government takes your money. So if you don't make a will in the UK, you pay 40% tax. If you don't claim the money in 5 years, it goes to the government. So make a list, write everything down. Number 5, to collect the visa of the deceased, you need to cancel all the dependent visas. In my experience, at least 60 to 70% of the working women in the UAE are under the husband's sponsorship. So what I do, I tell all the women, or you tell, if your wife's working, get a separate visa, get off your sponsorship. But remember, with the exception of golden visas, all the dependent visas are cancelled. If you have a golden visa, they will allow the term to continue. However, on renewal, it will be cancelled. So if you have a 10-year golden visa, husband is no more, they will allow the dependent's visas to run its term. On renewal, they'll cancel it. But if it's a normal visa, I can't help you, because I know to collect the death certificate, you have to surrender the dependent visas. Number 6, always complete the beneficiary nominee forms wherever you can get your hands on them. So for example, you're working for a company, there is group life insurance. If you pass away, the life insurance is paid to the employer, but the employer needs an internal beneficiary form who to give the money to. Otherwise, the employer will wait for a court order. So if you haven't completed an internal beneficiary form, get it done. If you don't have an internal beneficiary form, let me know. I'll be able to assist in drafting one for the employer. The point I'm trying to say, wherever you have any investment, life insurance, let's say you open up an online trading platform, always ask them, is there a beneficiary form that if I pass away, can I nominate the beneficiary? Because without the beneficiary form, they need the court order. So we're just trying to expedite the payment if you have the right paperwork at the right time. Point number 7, always have your marriage certificate and children's birth certificates fully attested, translated into Arabic and certified by the Ministry of Justice. This is a housekeeping tip. You can do this today or tomorrow. Point number 8, if you're doing any business agreements with anyone, always complete the agreement. So if you and your friend are buying a property or you're starting a business, always have an MOU in place. Letter wishes deals with informal requests like funeral arrangements, organ donation. You might have jewelry. You might be spending money in charity. We have a template we always recommend for informal requests. Don't put this in the will, put it into the letter of wishes, and share this with your family. Point number 10, we have the JW app, which we recommend for you to download, because once your will is registered, you can access your will anytime, 24/7, through the app. Our primary focus is really on the power of attorney and the will. So the rest of the housekeeping tips, this is something you need to do. Do this parallel with the will. I'm not saying I need you to do them first. No, I'm saying get it done in due course. But drafting the will, I don't need that information. However, you need to have your bank accounts in order, get life assurance, have a list of assets. By the way, for the list of assets and the letter wishes, I can send you a template. Next slide, please. So, a will, it's just, for me, it's part of a jigsaw puzzle. You can see all the points. Everything is there. The will is the most important document, but you need to have all of your housekeeping tips in this order. And by the way, I don't open bank accounts. I don't sell life assurance. I'm not here to sort out the visa. We obviously document attestation. You can get this done, and we can assist, but it's not our job, because I don't sell life assurance, open bank accounts. But if you're asking me, which bank can you recommend to open a bank account for my children, I can give you a name and number for someone who can help you, but like I said, you will need to deal with them separately. Next slide, please. What information is required to draft a will? Look, I keep this very simple. For the person making a will, I need passport and local ID for the husband, wife and children. Now, if there is children, I need to know who are the guardians. No children, you don't need guardians. But if there is guardians, you need to tell me both the temporary and the permanent. Who are the executors and trustees? So this is the person going to the court executing the will. And asset distribution, a roadmap. How do you want your money to be divided? Husband can say, I'm giving everything to my wife, but the wife saying, wait a minute, I'm giving everything to the children, because I don't trust my husband. If I pass away, he'd probably get married again, so I'd rather give everything to the children. But the husband saying, I'm giving everything to the wife. But that's the roadmap you need to give to me. Next slide, please. Right, just some FAQs before we go into the court's registration process. Can a will from overseas work locally in the UAE? In other words, let's say you have a will in a different jurisdiction and you pass away. Can that will work here in the UAE? The answer is yes, but you need to also apply for the grant of probate, which is a document the court will issue after the person has passed away. The only issue is when you're dealing with this process, everything has to be stamped from the UAE embassy in the home country, translated into Arabic, and then submitted to the courts. This is very expensive and can be very time consuming. So I dealt with a case where the person passed away and we had a will and a grant of probate from Australia, and the whole process took 2.5 years to transfer the money. So you can imagine now, if you're going to rely on your will from your home country and you have children living in the UAE, how can you deal with all the paperwork so quickly? So having a will registered locally is cheaper and more faster. When do you update a will? When there is a major change, like if you get married or you divorce, or you change in the beneficiaries, executors or the guardians. That's when you update the will. Can the executor be a guardian? So for example, the person executing the will can look after the children. I'm assuming in case, God forbid, both the husband and wife pass away, the answer is yes. What is the age of maturity? In the GCC, it's 21. But for me, it should be 25 or even 30 years of age. The reason why I'm saying this, if you give 100,000 dirham, euros, sterling or dollars to a 21-year-old while they're in the middle of university, they're only going to end up misusing the money. So for me, age of maturity should be 25. Is there a concept of a joint will? It's either single or mirror, no joint. Does the will need to be in English or Arabic? In both languages. Is the list of assets mentioned attached to the will? No, this is separate. So the will is registered in the court, but the list of assets, which I recommend you should make, keep that in a separate document. How long does it take to draft a will? 3 to 5 days, maybe sooner depending on the circumstances. Are there any inheritance tax in the UAE? Right now there isn't any. Where do I keep the list of assets? By definition, the executor should be having the list. However, give it to the family. Can I prepare a codicil for any future changes? No, you need to update the will. Now, are debts passed on to the family? Remember one thing, all your debts need to be settled. So if you have a credit balance in Bank A and you have a negative balance in Bank B, you need to clear Bank B as well. So the credit balance from Bank A, the proceeds, will be used to clear Bank B. If after all of that there is no money left and there's still a debt or liability, then this is not passed on to the family. And if the banks are chasing the family to clear the debts and liabilities of the deceased, this is illegal. You can make a complaint. Can the will cover global assets? This is usually case by case. If I can explain, assets are in two categories, movable and immovable. So if you're having money investments globally, like bank accounts and in trading accounts and life insurance, I can make a global will. But if you have a property in France or Germany or in the US, then I say it's better you make a will separately. Can a Muslim prepare a will? Yes, for 100% of their money, they have full control. Next slide, please. Yes, Irvin, how can I help you?
How much does it cost?
We've come into that. You're one step ahead of me. Just give me another 2 more slides. Do you need a lawyer to execute a will? No, anyone can do it. So people in the market saying, oh, you have to get a lawyer, it's very expensive, rubbish. Anyone can do the work. If you want to go to a lawyer, that's up to you. Now, do all assets pass to the husband from the wife? Now, this is a misconception. People think if the wife passes away, husband gets all the money. So if the wife passes away, husband only gets 25%. What happens if you have a special needs child? You appoint a special trustee. Where can you open up minor account, savings account for children? Any bank. Funeral arrangements, organ donation. Do this via letter wishes. I can send you a template. Can a power of attorney be local or global? It is only local. Beneficiary form versus a nominee form. Be careful. A beneficiary form makes the person named receiving the money, the actual beneficiary, but a nominee is a person who is named to look after the money. So there is a fundamental difference. Not informing the banks of death and using the power of attorney is fraud. If you get caught, you're in a big problem. Can I declare my domicility in the will? Yes, you can. So, you see, when it comes to inheritance tax, they look at if you're non-resident, non-domiciled. So you can put your domicility into the will. Can a bank accept the will for execution to transfer the funds? No. Only the court order can make this happen. Can you appoint an executor for a business only? Yes. Will of foundation is a complicated matter. It's really for those people having multiple properties, bank accounts, and it's very cash rich. Joint account versus single account. Remember, joint has no right to survivorship. Single wills versus mirror wills. If the assets are in joint names, you need a mirror will. Now remember, joint means husband and wife. It doesn't have to be a property. If you have a joint bank account, the wife owns 50%. Next slide, please. If anyone's into cryptocurrency, you'll find this article very interesting. This is why I say always keep a list of assets, write everything down. This person passed away and took the whereabouts of $135 million to the grave. Now many, account holders, they wonder if they ever see the money again. That's why I make a list of assets. Next slide, please. Case example. This is very quickly, I'll just tell you. Husband and wife with 2 children passed away. Husband passed away. Everything was blocked. Can you believe the shares of the children, the monetary value, has to be deposited into the court every year? So when I said having a will, if you don't have a will, the court is managing the money. So even the money from the business belonging to the children, you have to deposit this into the court. Next slide, please. This is a very example. Families fighting, the money is blocked. Next slide, please. This is where the wife passed away. HR wanted to pay the end of service benefits. But the mother contested, saying, wait a minute, according to your law, I'm a legal heir, and she's right. So the money was divided 50-50. Who's right, who's wrong? Nobody knows. Next slide, please. Which court to register the will? So you've got 1 of 3 courts. You have the Abu Dhabi, the Dubai, the DIFC. Abu Dhabi and Dubai is government. They don't market. They don't create any awareness. They're cheaper. DIFC is marketing because they're not government, they're semi-government. So if you register a will in the DIFC court, the court fees is 10,000 dirham. When a person passes away, it takes 4 months to get the grant of probate. Then you go back to Dubai court to get the orders to unblock the accounts. So this is how the courts are. This is really general information that I'm given. Anything specific, we always can do a one-to-one afterwards. Next slide, please. Sorry, we can go to the next one. This is the Just Wills app. The question was how much it cost for the will. I thought the slide was there. The cost of the will, because of the corporate relationship we have with MetLife, you are just paying 2,000 dirham plus the court fees. So I'm sorry, if you can go back to the court fees. That's it. Thank you very much. So it's 2,000 plus the 1,500 if you go into Abu Dhabi court. So what is the difference between Dubai and Abu Dhabi? If you're looking for UAE coverage only, you can go to Dubai or DIFC. In fact, you can go all 3. If you're looking for local and international, Abu Dhabi is the best. Because DIFC, when they issue the grant of probate, you have to go back to Dubai court. Abu Dhabi court is issuing the court orders and the grant of probate. And so I know it's very technical. Grant of probate is required for other jurisdictions because Abu Dhabi court or Dubai court is not going to send an order to HSBC in Singapore, say transfer the money from A to B. They do need the grant of probate. So our drafting fee is 2,000 dirham plus the court fees. You decide which court you go. Majority of my clients are going to the Abu Dhabi court. So it's 2 plus 15, 3,500. If you want local and international coverage. If you just want to keep it UAE only, 2 plus 3, 5,000 dirham. Next slide, please.
Just on those costs there.
Yes.
Is that for a single will? What would it be for a mirror will?
Then it's double then. So 2,000 is our fee for a single will. If you want a mirror will, it's 4,000, and the court fees are per person. So mirror will with Abu Dhabi court is 4 plus 3, 7,000 dirham. Mirror will for Dubai court is 4 plus 6, 10,000 dirham. Yes, Mark.
Okay, and sorry, just one last thing specific to my own circumstances because I'm British. You could prepare a British will as well, so that would be additional on top.
I can make the will global from the Abu Dhabi court. I can make it covering UK and UAE, or we can make separate wills. Look, let me tell you one thing, respectfully. When you're dealing with probate, the UK probate office is going to know what you have in the UAE. So before people would want to segregate the wills, here I'm saying you can make one will and cover both, but I can do two separate wills. Even if you do two separate, they're still going to find out what you have in the UAE, because when you're dealing with a probate, somebody has to disclose all the information. Sorry, Mark, you got... Yeah.
I've got nothing to hide anyway. So
No. Don't take it the wrong way. I'm saying people are usually saying, let's keep them separate so no one knows what's going on. I'm saying they're going to find out anyway. You might as well make one will and save money.
Yeah, all good.
Thank you. And sorry, there's from...
Yes.
Yes, Mark, please fire away.
Yes. I was just wondering, do the fees include power of attorney?
No, sir. Power of attorney is a separate document. The drafting is 1,000 dirham and the court fee is 1,000 dirham. So what I was hoping, if you can go to the next slide, there's a feedback form. That's it. Stop there. That's it. So what I'm recommending to everyone, take a picture of that, fill it in, send me the details. I will send you an email with the attachments, and then we can have a one-to-one so I can find out more about you. You might have some personal questions you would like to ask me. We can do that and take it from there then. So to get a copy of this presentation and the attachments I spoke to you about, I can send it all to you, and then we can have a one-to-one and take it from there. So just to recap on the financials, again, it depends if you want a single or a mirror will. So it's 2,000 dirham is our drafting fee for the will. The court fee is 1,500 dirham. The power of attorney is 1,000 dirham. The court fee is 1,000 dirham for the power of attorney. I know there's a lot of information to take in one sort of meeting. I know there's a lot of information, so I'm just trying to cover the bullet points on the importance of the subject, why you need a will, what happens if you pass away where there's no will, and trying to deal with the red tape of this country. That is the main focus, is educating people. However, if you want to take the matter further, I recommend a one-to-one and take it from there then. Any other questions, please? Well, if you can please fill in this feedback form, or you can go into our, send me an email. If you can go to the next slide, please. Yes, I'll be sharing this presentation with everyone, Nicholas. So this is our YouTube. We got a Facebook, LinkedIn. If you want to see any videos, I've done many videos similar to what I'm doing now. We got our own YouTube page. You can look at other videos. We are 800 wills. You got my email ID, our telephone number. Anything, please contact us. I will send you the presentation with all the attachments as well. I'm sorry, Irvin, did I answer your question or you got another question?
No other questions. I forgot to turn it off.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. It's showing here, that's why. Has anyone got any question, please? Perfect. Well, look, thank you very much for joining the call. I'm sorry it took a bit longer than 1 hour. I was hoping to wrap everything up. But any questions, please let me know. You got the QR link, you got my email ID. Just send an email and I'll send you all the information then.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mohammed, sorry, just one thing. Is it possible to share the inventory list with me so I can
Yes.
share it with the presentation?
I will send it. See, look, at the end of the day, there are many attachments, and I don't want to be sending too many because it could confuse people. So I'll send you the inventory, but for everyone else who wants any further information, other attachments, we'll be glad to send it to you then.
Perfect.
Thank you very much, Saeed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
nice-
Just,
yes, Mark.
just before everyone drops offline, Hamid, thank you very much for your time on this extremely important topic. I know that I'm guilty of not having a will prepared, so this is a good reminder for all of us that we need to get our affairs in order, just in case the unnecessary or the terrible things could happen. So thanks very much for taking the time to go through this with us. Saeed, thanks for arranging this. You did say in your email yesterday that there were some other topics that might be raised in today's call. Was there anything else for the team, or are we wrapping up completely now?
We're wrapping up completely. I mean, if anyone needs further consultation, please feel free to reach out, Mohammed, and I'm sure he'll be happy to support.
All right, perfect. Okay, all right. Well, thanks very much, and from the team from Just Wills, thank you. I'm sure you've given a lot of food for thought for the team that have been online today. So thanks a lot.
Thank you. You have a nice day, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Mohammed.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.